You know that feeling, right? When you're worrying about a big presentation and the worry itself is actually worse than giving the presentation? Or how about waiting for exam results? That stress can be way more draining than all the studying you did. Well, we're going to dig into this powerful idea from the ancient Bhagavad Gita that speaks directly to that feeling. And you'll see it is so relevant to our lives today. Okay, so this is the verse right here. I know, it looks complex and it's thousands of years old, but trust me, hidden inside this ancient text is a really practical key for living a calmer, more focused life. We're going to decode it together, and I promise you, the main idea is actually super simple and incredibly powerful. All right, so where do we even begin with something like this? Well, before we dive deep into the philosophy, let's just get a straight up translation. What do these words actually say?
So, there you have it. It's basically an instruction, right? O Dhananjaya, be steadfast, perform actions, abandon attachment, and be balanced in success and failure. Sounds simple enough on the surface, but what does it really mean to abandon attachment? What does that actually look like in real life?
To really get a grip on that, we've got to zoom in on three really important words from the original verse. Think of them as the building blocks for this whole concept. First up is karma. Now, I know this word gets thrown around a lot, but here in this context, it's super simple. It just means your action, the work you're performing. It's the studying you do, the presentation you build, the code you write. It's the one thing you actually have control over.
Next, we've got sangam, which means attachment. And folks, this is the real source of our anxiety, isn't it? It's like this mental and emotional glue we use to stick ourselves to the results, that desperate hope for the promotion, that crushing fear of failing the test. It's where all the stress comes from, because it's all tied to stuff we ultimately can't control.
And finally, we have siddhi siddhyo. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it simply means success and failure. You know, the two possible outcomes of anything you do, the two sides of the same coin. And what's interesting is the verse isn't telling us to ignore them. It's telling us to see both of them for what they are and treat them with the same even mind. Okay, so what happens when you put all these pieces together? When you focus on your karma, your action, but you let go of the sangam, the attachment to whether you'll get success or failure, well, that's when you unlock the heart of the entire verse. You get to this state called samatvam, which is just equanimity, or an evenness of mind. And here it is, the big reveal. The verse literally says this state of mental balance is yoga. So yeah, forget the yoga mat for a minute. We're talking about a kind of mental mastery here. And when you look at it like this, you can see it really boils down to two different ways of operating. On one side, you're dependent on the outcome. You're on this emotional roller coaster, right? Full of anxiety, where your happiness is totally conditional on things going your way. But on the other side, you're focused on the action. And that brings a sense of peace. Your fulfillment comes from the effort you put in. It's a stable inner calm. That's a real game changer. Okay, so this is all a really cool philosophical idea. But how do we actually use it? I mean, what does this look like in practice? Let's actually turn this into a tool you can use every single day. Think of it like a mental strategy for dealing with stress. So let's walk through it with a real-world example. Say, a job interview. Step 1, identify your action. Okay, my job is to prepare really well and present myself the best I can. Step 2, acknowledge the outcomes. Well, I could get the job or I could not get the job. Both are possible. Step 3 is the big one, consciously detach. You actually make a decision. My inner peace is not going to depend on whether I get this offer. And then step 4, you perform the action with total focus. You walk into that interview room and you just give it your all, because in that moment, that's your only job. And here's the beautiful part, the real magic of this approach. When you stop wasting all that mental energy on the what-ifs, you free up 100% of your attention for the task right in front of you. Your performance actually gets better because you're not distracted by a future you can't control anyway. So, as we're wrapping up, you can see how this single verse can completely reframe how we approach pretty much any challenge. But there's one last really important point we need to make. And it's this. The goal here is not to be indifferent, it's to be free. This is so important. Equanimity isn't about not caring about the outcome. Of course you want to succeed. The goal isn't apathy. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional weight of the results that aren't, when you really think about it, mostly out of your hands. You shift your focus to caring deeply about your effort, not the outcome. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Just look at your life today. Is there one area, maybe a tough conversation you have to have, a big project at work, or, hey, even just a simple chore, where you could practice this evenness of mind? Where could you decide, just for today, to focus completely on your effort and just let the results be what they're going to be? Finding that one small place to start might just be the first step toward a much calmer and way more focused way of living.